My name is Erin Mayer, and I am your child's sixth grade physical science teacher this year.
And I will be co-teaching sixth grade science with Erin Mayer. I have been teaching at Casey for 23 years, and my background is working with students who are learning English as a second or third language. And I've also taught English language arts at Casey. And my role will be to help provide language supports and extensions for everyone. I'm really going to encourage the use of academic language and scientific vocabulary, and I hope this will help students explain their thinking in science better and improve their reading in science and also writing about science.
This quick video is going to walk you through a little bit of what our class is about and what we'll be focusing on this year and some of our classroom kind of structures and systems that we have in place to make sure that every single student is learning every single day. So these four words do a great job of describing what our classroom is about. Our classroom is about doing, it's about hands on investigations and experiments, hands on experiences where kids really figure out the science that we're working on. We will be exploring lots of different physical science ideas and topics throughout the year. Our classroom is really built around the idea of collaboration and working together in order to to make sense of the things that we are experiencing. We use something called three-dimensional learning in our science class. This may be new to some of you. Three-dimensional learning comes from the Next Generation Science Standards. These are the standards that Colorado State adopted several years ago. And there are three dimensions to these standards. The first dimension is what we call science and engineering practices. And basically, these are what students actually do in order to make sense of content. So, this would include things like asking questions and developing models and analyzing data and using data to make evidence based conclusions. Disciplinary core ideas is the second dimension of the three dimensions. And this is what we would call like the traditional content standards. This is what we want students to know about the different branches of sciences by the time they finish middle school. And finally, we have cross-cutting concepts. And these are the big concepts that kind of connect all the ideas in our science class together. So it's really a system and a structure for helping students think through what they're learning about. So I want to take a moment to dive into some of our classroom structures and systems because this class may look different than many classes that you or your students have experienced before. So my philosophy comes from this idea, from my idea really of learning. And I think this particular image from George Couros really does a great job of kind of getting into the nuances of learning. So on the left here, we can see that learning kind of this is what people think it looks like, this nice straight trajectory we're trying to get from point A to point B, and it's real straightforward. But in reality, this is what learning really looks like. So we're still trying to get from point A to point B. There's an end goal. However, the path that learners take is oftentimes a little bit messy and convoluted. So, my philosophy about learning really informs how we set up the classroom. So, there's three things I'd like to focus in on: proficiency based learning, self paced learning, and blended learning. So, let's start with proficiency based. Our classroom is proficiency based and it is feedback focused. So, what this looks like is that for all learning activities kids engage with, there are certain standards that they need to meet in order to show proficiency. And as they're working on an activity, they will be getting feedback from me. And eventually, they will either be proficient or not proficient yet. If they're proficient, that means they've met the standards. They have showed me that they understand whatever it is I was wanting them to understand. If they're not proficient yet, this isn't a bad thing. It just means that they're still learning to do. So they will be looking at the feedback that I'm giving them, or orally or written feedback, and they will be taking that feedback and doing something with it. They'll be revising their work. They'll be digging into their learning a little bit more in that particular activity, and eventually they will earn proficiency because they will have learned it. So students progress from one activity to the next once they have demonstrated proficiency. Now, because they're moving from one activity to the next as they demonstrate proficiency, what this means is that everyone is going to be on slightly different places depending on what they need. So, our classroom is also what I call self paced. So, there are a series of activities that kids are working through, always to meet some sort of focus goal. So, this image here is a picture of what our progress tracker looks like in our class. So this is how kids know what they've done and what they need to do. So they will be looking or working towards learning about a particular focus question. There's a series of activities that they're working through. All of their names will be on this progress tracker, and essentially, when they finish an activity, I just change their cell to green, and then they move on to the next activity. So this system really helps them know exactly where they are and what they need to do. And it helps me keep track of where everybody is as well. Once they have finished a lesson, they'll see a completed check mark, and then they'll move on to the next lesson. Because they're moving at different paces, we also have a blended classroom. So we all use actually at Casey, Schoology to organize learning activities. So in our class, Schoology will house all of our activities. This doesn't mean that all the activities that they're doing are on the computer. It just means that's where they're going to access directions and sometimes, but not always, be submitting work. So this is what a snapshot of Schoology might look like. So we can see a lesson right here. We can see the focus question, and then there's a series of activities the kids are working through. Another thing I really focus on in the classroom is how we talk about learning. So we will be moving and shifting our my own teacher talk and student talk as we progress through the year. So I don't say words like grades or grading or score. I use words like assessing and assess. We're shifting the focus from, hey, what grade did I get on this, to what did I learn? From this is wrong to I'm still working on this. I'm still trying to figure things out. We're not giving judgment or criticism. Instead, we're really feedback focused. So that we're always giving feedback to students to help them move their learning forward. We're shifting from getting good grades to achieving proficiency in things, and from assignments to learning activities. So the focus is really on learning. So moving our thinking forward. A part of this is actually moving away from traditional grades. So kids will not have traditional grades in this class. Instead, they will either be proficient or not proficient yet. And again, they will continue to work on those not proficients yet, and they will be proficient, and then they will move on. At the end of the semester, they will be using a structure I call claim evidence reasoning, and they will be making a claim about what they think their grade, what grade, best represents their learning. They will be supporting that claim with specific pieces of evidence that demonstrate their learning, and they will be using reasoning to explain why they believe that the evidence supports that claim. That will be They will be sharing that with me, and that is how we will determine what their grade is for the semester. So I want to wrap this up because I don't want to take too much time. I'm really looking forward to working with your kids this year. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. My email address is right here, and you are welcome to text me or give me a call at my phone number down at the bottom. Again, looking forward to working with your students, and take care.